So I want to talk to you guys about the importance of history in Christianity and really maintaining the roots of Christianity. And by roots, I'm talking about the beautiful history of the religion. I think that one of the most dangerous things to have ever happened in the traditionally Christian world is the forgetting of Christian history, or really just the downright indifference towards Christian history. Like, no one cares about Christian history. No one really cares about the beautiful artwork that came from Christian civilization. They just want to listen to R&B. And that's one thing that really, really pisses me off. You have a lot of these Christians, especially young Christians. We're talking people in their 20s and in their 30s and maybe, a little bit older than that, who are like, "Oh yeah, I listened to this Christian R&B singer or something like that." And they think that like they're being inspired by the Holy Spirit by some guy from, I don't know, Brooklyn or whatever, who sings like he's a male version of Beyonce or something like that. And they're like, "Oh yes, I'm feeling the inspiration of the Lord" or something. And they're listening to some music that you would hear in the mall when you're trying out clothes in the dressing room. Um, it's actually very sad, like how we have forgotten what is beautiful artwork. I made a video not too long ago talking about music. The sole subject of the video was not music. I rambled about a variety of different topics, but I did talk about music because I love music. I think most people love music. You have some people who say that they don't listen to music, which is very odd to me. I think my cat is knocking on the door. One moment. You have some people who say that they don't listen to music, and they're like, "Oh, I don't listen to music. Music is for weak people." And yes, I've actually heard people say things like this. There was a Catholic priest I heard not too long ago. Actually, this was back in, I think, 2015 or so. I forgot his name, but he's a Catholic priest who talks a lot about exorcism. But anyway, he said that we should limit our listening to music because music makes us weak, and if we listen to music every day, that shows somehow our emotional dependence on music, and so thus we are somehow slaves to the flesh, and I guess we're damning ourselves by listening to music or something. Like, well, what if I enjoy listening to Antonio Vivaldi every single day? Like, does that make me, corrupt or something? But anyway, most people love music. People who say they don't listen to music, I really don't care about their opinions. It's like people who say, "Well, I don't eat pork." It's like, oh, okay, well, we really don't care. Like, no one really cares that you don't eat pork. But anyway, um, but I talked about music, and I said, Antonio Vivaldi was a wonderful composer, and my favorite composition from Antonio Vivaldi is his Opus 3. People like to talk about his Four Seasons, and they love his Four Seasons, and that's completely fine. I respect their opinion. Somebody put a comment saying, "Well, you don't really understand. Like, Antonio's best pieces were his Gloria and some of his spiritual, like more church choir works, basically." And I'm like, my response to this person is, that's your opinion. I completely respect your opinion. To me, it doesn't really matter. Like, Vivaldi is Vivaldi, and I think all of his music is pretty much beautiful. But some pieces are better than others, of course. Um, if you, but really, my conclusion in all of this is that I think all of his works are spiritual. I think all of Vivaldi's works are spiritual. That's the thing. I think his Opus 3 is spiritual. I think his Gloria is very, very spiritual, obviously. His Four Seasons is spiritual. Even if you listen to Antonio Vivaldi's work, you will notice that each composition has about three dimensions of harmony. You have three different harmonies playing at the same time, and although they are going at different directions, they are nonetheless in a perfect synthesis. They are in a perfect symmetry and in a perfect unity, and they fit so perfectly well together in this very sublime and beautiful harmony. And so in the music of Vivaldi, you see almost this artistic illustration, or this artistic and musical portrayal and depiction of the Holy Trinity. Now, of course, we can never fully understand the Holy Trinity, but mankind through the ages has tried to depict the Trinity through artwork. This is why, for example, you will find old pieces of artwork from the Renaissance period, and you'll see God the Father and God the Son, and then there's the Holy Spirit, which many times is represented as a dove. Like, you'll see artwork like this. Mankind has, in the history of Christianity, has tried to depict the Holy Trinity in very beautiful and artistic ways. But really, it's limited nonetheless. I mean, but humanity unto itself is limited. But what's very, very sad after all of this is, I think, the forgetting of this beautiful history. I remember when I was in Italy, I was hanging out with a number of nuns. They were part of some order, I don't remember the name of it. But we were driving in the car, and the Mother Superior was driving, and we were going through some city. I think it was like Rimini or something like that. I don't remember. And she starts playing music. Now, you would think a nun in Italy is going to be playing, I don't know, some spiritual works, some kind of monastic music, maybe some Catholic opera, maybe Antonio Vivaldi. Like, we're in the middle of Italy. We see all this beautiful architecture everywhere, beautiful, gorgeous churches. You see history everywhere. You're literally in a living, walking museum. And I'm sitting there in the back of the car, and she starts playing this music, and it sounded something more or less like this. Moses crossed the Red Sea. Moses crossed the Red Sea. Moses crossed the Red Sea. And Noah built the ark. And I was like, what the hell is this? What's this nonsense? What's this garbage music? And she says, oh, it's American gospel music. It's American. I'm like, we're in the middle of Italy. Why are we listening to this garbage? We're not in Mississippi. We're not in Kentucky. We're not in Alabama. We're not in, I don't know, North Carolina somewhere. Like, we're in Italy. Like, we should be listening to Andrea Bocelli. We should be listening to Pavarotti. We should be listening to Vivaldi. We should be listening to Locatelli. Like, I can name a bunch of composers. And she's like, oh, I love this music. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And this same monastery was playing, like, I'm not even joking. When I was there, they were playing, like, Yiddish songs. They were singing. The choir would be singing Yiddish songs. And I'm sitting there, and they're singing, like, Hava La Liga Hava, and right in front of us. And it was crazy. Like, is this a synagogue? Is this a deli? Are we in the middle of a deli in Brooklyn somewhere? Like, what is this? This is a Catholic church? But they're playing this music, and it's like it was like open rejection of Christendom's history, like open rejection of the beautiful roots of Christianity. And I saw a similar trend when I was in Spain. Spain is like Italy. You know, you go there and there's just beautiful architecture everywhere, beautiful churches. Spain is basically Italy, but better. I mean, let's be honest. You're like, Spain is way too underrated. Spain does not get the credit that it deserves. Spain is a way more beautiful country than Italy. I will argue with anyone about this. It really is a wonderful country. I love Spain. If I had to pick a European country to live in, it would be Spain. You know, $50,000 or 50,000 euro property somewhere in the coast would be just amazing. But anyway, I remember going to Spain, and I was in this church, and they were singing like old gospel slave music, and I'm like, hey, what the hell is this? Are we in Arkansas somewhere? Like, what? They're singing like old American gospel music, and they're stomping their feet on the ground, and it's just like, we're in Spain. Like, we should be playing something way more elegant, like something more beautiful than this. Where, you know, in Spain, you can't walk anywhere without seeing some ancient church, some ancient edifice, beautiful, beautiful history everywhere, beautiful Christian history everywhere you go. And it's like, you're playing some gospel stuff. They're playing like R&B music. I'm not even exaggerating. Playing like R&B type music, like gospel music, you know. And you see a lot of these young Christian people in America, and they're like, "Oh, I listen to this gospel music. He sounds like just like Usher." but it's about Jesus. And they, people in Europe, they hear this and they think, well, this is amazing because it comes from America. And to them, anything that comes from America, that's one thing that a lot of people need to understand. Like, literally anything that comes out of America, people will worship. People get on their knees for this stuff because a lot of people think that America is like the civilization of all civilizations, and they think that anything from America is hip and trendy. So when they hear and they think that like life in America is always peachy and always awesome. Like, I'm not even joking. I met a guy in Spain who spoke no English. In fact, he spoke a dialect of Spanish that to me sounded like a different language because he spoke so damn fast. And I used to live in Mexico, and I was hearing Spanish all the time, and I was speaking Spanish all the time. Not fluently, but I had to survive and get my way around, so you had to speak some Spanish. But like, I mean, I'm used to Mexican Spanish. I've heard some Argentinian Spanish. I've heard the general dialect of Spain Spanish. But this guy, I mean, it was like a whole different language. But yeah, anyway, this guy was telling me about how he always wanted to go to Tennessee. And I was like, why do you want to go to Tennessee for? And he goes, well, they play the gospel every day. They play gospel music everywhere you go. They're Christians, and it's like you've never been to America. Like, you don't even know. Like, Christianity is declining a lot in America. And even if you're right, like they're playing gospel music all the time, that's usually something that's limited to certain areas of the South. Like, you're not going to get that in even a lot of areas of the South. You're not going to get that in Texas. Some parts of Texas you will, but in most places in Texas, I don't think you're going to get that, especially if you go to the big cities. But most of America isn't like that. But they think that America is like some Christian holy land or something, and it's crazy. I was talking to this lady in Russia. I wasn't in Russia, but we were communicating online, and she told me that she wanted to go to America and live in Texas. And I'm like, why do you want to live in Texas for? And she's like, oh, they're all Christian over there. And it's like, well, there are a lot of Christians in Texas, but like, don't get these weird, unrealistic high expectations. That's like me saying I want to move to Russia because everyone there is Eastern Orthodox. And then you go to Russia and then you meet some people who are into some pretty weird and questionable stuff. And you're like, what the hell is going on? This is the thing I've noticed. Like, a lot of people romanticize other countries, and I have been guilty of this. And I think the best cure for this is to either research the countries that you're romanticizing or to talk to people who live there, or to actually go there yourself for a visit and experience it yourself. You may like it, but there's a great chance that you won't. I'm talking about living. I'm not talking about visiting. Visiting and living are usually two different things, although my experience in Italy was almost like I was living there. I was there for over 2 weeks, and it felt like I was living there. And the crazy thing about Italy is that, for some reason, everyone there's got a small ass bed. Like, literally, if I had a bad dream, I could have rolled out the bed and, I don't know, like broke my shoulder or something. The showers there are super small, and you just want to get, you just want a big bed and a hot shower at that point. You're eating pasta every single day. I'm surprised there isn't a huge endemic problem of constipation in Italy, because if you eat enough pasta and you're not drinking enough water, you're going to get constipated because you're basically putting boiled cement in your digestive system. I would be shocked to know that Italy doesn't have huge problems with constipation. I'm just saying. But some people, they have this romantic view of Southern Europe. They think it's just a bunch of old, dark-skinned guys, fishing off the docks and singing, certain opera songs or whatever, and they're dancing in the sunlight in the face of olive groves, and they're drinking olive oil all day, or some really, really expensive red wine. And then you actually go to Italy, and you're like, that guy's a weirdo, she's questionable, and she's a psychopath. And you realize that a lot of the weird problems that you find in America, you also find there. But nonetheless, that's my rambling for the day. Yeah, it's really scary. Not scary, I shouldn't say scary. That's too much of an exaggerated word. But I would say that it's kind of sad to see like how people just have rejected the beautiful history of old Europe. And they go off into like listening to some really, really shitty music from Memphis somewhere. It's really disgusting. I heard some lady when I was in Spain tell me about the glories of Memphis and how Memphis is like the greatest place ever. And I'm like, really? 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 People in Memphis are leaving. Yeah. And it's just sad, to see the whole thing. From listening to something like Vivaldi or Locatelli or Corelli, they're listening to like Moses crossed the Red Sea, and they're like, "Oh, this is amazing! This is a masterpiece." I'm like, "This is some of the shittiest music I've ever seen in my life." Anyway, that's my rambling for the day. You guys just heard some theology. God bless. Get out of here.